This is a talk from my PhD that I recently submitted. It was just basically using the social-ecological systems framework to actually assess and answer different questions pertaining to bushmeat hunting, using bush and mammal wild species in the forests of the Eastern Cape as resource units, and also using the hunters and the home and households, each household as resource users. So actually assessing different complex interactions and complex feedbacks that occur within a hunting system, the hunting system, and what impact that has on the wildlife species, as well as using the framework to actually look at the impact of bushmeat in each household and hunter livelihoods. So this is one of the chapters that my final chapter in assessing bushmeat hunting in the Eastern Cape. Awesome. So this is just a brief background on the talk that I'll be doing today. And a brief background on bushmeat hunting, just in general. Most of the research has been centered around Eastern and Western Africa, where bushmeat has been said to be the mainstay of household diets, and where bushmeat has been traded at multiple intervals. Most of it is being shipped out to different countries in Europe, and some of it is also being sold within local communities. And most of the research being conducted on bushmeat has been centered in these areas. And little has been known on what is occurring in the Southern African region. So this is what prompted the study. So my first chapter actually assessed the household benefits associated with bushmeat hunting. So the first, we actually looked at different contributions of different non-timber forest products at a household level, and actually found out that all the households in the area used at least one non-timber forest product in each of the households, and with firewood being used by all of these households. 64% of the household actually attested to consuming bushmeat, and that is primarily the male head of the household in each of these households. And only 12% of the head of the household and the hunters actually attested to actually sharing this bushmeat amongst the whole community, actually saying that bushmeat is not actually an important livelihood strategy for households in the region. Unlike what has been seen in the tropical forests and regions, whereby bushmeat is actually the main source of protein for many, many households. So that was the key findings of my first chapter. Moving on to the second chapter, whereby we assess hunting practices of hunters in the Eastern Cape region. And we actually found that this was mostly done by unemployed middle-aged men who didn't have any livestock. So it was something that they actually enjoyed doing. It was part of their culture. It was mostly something that was sports-orientated, which was done during weekends, month ends, and it was mostly something that a sports kind of thing, whereby they released dogs and chased down animals and actually beat them with sticks or shot them down. And it was also said to be mostly of a recreational activity. They all attested to enjoying the hunting, as it was part of their culture. Okay, then we also assessed the impact of hunting on mammal species found in the forests of the Eastern Cape. So we compared that by actually most of all of the study sites were a communal forest at close proximity to a protected area. So we found that when you compare the species densities and species diversities between the two, the communal forest had very little species densities and diversities compared to the adjacent protected area. And we also found that there was an increased hunting pressure in the communal forest, and more than the adjacent protected areas. And most importantly, we also found that using local ecological knowledge was important for us to actually know the species densities and species distributions within the communal forests. And this is the final chapter that I'll be presenting the findings now. So actually going down to bushmeat in South Africa, Going back to Julia, they actually submitted a paper actually assessing what it was a systematic literature review looking at studies conducted in bushmeat throughout the African savannas, and actually noted that there was a dearth in knowledge about bushmeat hunting in the southern African savannas. Following them, we then also did a literature review and published a short communication also mentioning that bushmeat studies, although we know that bushmeat actually occurs in South Africa, but very little has been done to actually show what motivates bushmeat, what drives it, and the impacts bushmeat hunting have on wild animal fauna in the region. Yes, there have been a few studies that have been done by different respective around the country, actually showing that the mixture of motivations and a mixture of drivers that actually show bushmeat hunting in different regions. Some in the Western Cape, I know that some say that it is motivated by poverty, and that is people that were actually left the Eastern Cape region to actually go to the Western Cape looking for greener pastures, but unfortunately they didn't find them, so they ended up going back to their cultural roots, actually going to hunt and actually surviving using bushmeat. And up in the KZN area, they also found similar findings to my PhD, finding that it was mostly cultural and sports driven. So it's a mixture of drivers throughout the country. And moving on to the core gist of the talk, sustainability of bushmeat hunting, there's lots of reports and papers that have actually been published assessing sustainability of bushmeat throughout the tropical regions and throughout globally, in fact. But this has been a perplexing topic, and many people have actually suggested different biological models, and these have been said not to work in realistic conditions, as they use static indices to actually determine sustainabilities. And let's say a population of duiker, or a population of bushbucks, suddenly have a burst in birth rates or mortality rates, then that actually underestimates or actually overestimates the sustainability of hunting in that specific region. Exactly, the famous quote by Natalie van Vliet, which I also is an icon in the bushmeat hunting research industry. She actually says, according to biological models, hunting is unsustainable and duiker are bound to become extinct. But duikers don't know anything about biological models, so they go ahead and survive anyway. So actually saying that these biological models don't really work at the end of the day, and a lot in this area, this thing of sustainability needs to be taken in context of the actual area or the actual region whereby you are actually assessing the sustainability and looking at the different drivers of hunting and the different socio-economic things that are actually occurring within that specific region. So the current study that we actually did, we actually used mixed methods in social-ecological methods to gain insights on sustainability of bushmeat hunting in the subtropical forests of the Eastern Cape. We used hunter participatory interviews, informal focus group discussions, ecological surveys, and literature reviews. So we also used data triangulation. So we collected numerous data from both social, ecological, and also compared the number of species found in different areas to what we found in the forest of the Eastern Cape. So these are the results. So we actually found that we took the five most hunted species in the study, and actually found that based on comparing the offtake data and the biomass data, we found that hunting was deemed unsustainable within the region. Also, when we compared our findings of the densities of numbers of the five most hunted species, compared these to what the numbers are said in the literature, we also found that they were very low compared, suggesting unsustainable harvesting of all five of these mammal species. When we also went to the hunters to ask Okay, in the past 10, 20 years, has your hunting rate increased or decreased? They all mention that. No, 98% of them, and 96% of them actually mentioned that their harvest rates decreased drastically over the past 20 years, which highly suggested unsustainable harvesting of these 5 mammal species. And they also said that their catch per unit effort also decreased. They spent more hours out in the field hunting rather compared to before, and they actually caught very less species compared to previously. Also, they also suggested that they actually increased their hunting within protected areas due to the communal forests not having any more animal species or having very less mammal species, which in turn, because they knew that they would get arrested or get persecuted in the protected areas, had decreased their frequency of hunting. So they opted not to hunt due to the unsustainable nature of bushmeat hunting that is occurring in the region. Okay, following these results, we have to recognize that bushmeat hunting is an evolving topic. What occurs in the tropical areas is not going to occur in the much smaller subtropical forests. And the drivers that people have within the tropical forest and will be different to what is occurring in the Southern Africa. And we need to take into account the ecological issues of the country and also social-ecological issues that occur within the context of where we're actually conducting the research. Most importantly is what I saw in my study is that there's a cultural drive that actually needs to be assessed when assessing bushmeat hunting within the country, and also assessing what the ecological footprint is of bushmeat hunting based on the cultural identity of the hunters. Moving forward, we need to actually be cognizant of the fact that bushmeat hunting is intertwined with social, economical, and ecological aspects that need to be taken into consideration for future research that is going to occur in the country going forward, using different innovative techniques and multidisciplinary approaches. Thank you.